Jeremy, I love
When did
that.
Spence start caring about government land?
It's because I'm a liberal and I'm exceptionally shitty as a human being. Scott's a conservative and he's an exceptionally wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So, liberal and...
Yeah, liberal conservative.
Shut up. That's literally the opposite of
Oh, God.
We got Spence to say it on the recorded line.
Much.
I hate you all. Where's Max? I need Max.
Well, is that going to help the
you need
ratio?
Yeah, Max is definitely not a liberal.
I wanted to briefly talk about theme forces. A lot of people have been getting a lot of hate towards theme forces lately. Spence, tell us about theme forces.
You know, okay, listeners don't know my problem. So Brandon and I had this conversation the other day at the store, so not to rehash that whole conversation, but the gist of it is, I really honestly like theme forces when they give something that's a bit more aesthetic or something that's actually, like, flavorful, as opposed to just, here are some free points, enjoy the game. Hey, if you play with this somewhat, like, slim picking of models, you get free points.
If you decide not to play with, like, Cossite Woodsman, congrats, here's free points.
It's like, that's just kind of how a lot of them feel to me. I didn't dive too deep into the other factions. I just know the Menoth ones, and the Menoth ones honestly feel a little... They're not as flavorful, potentially, or as interesting as they could be, but they're not bad. Yeah. I mean, I think balance-wise, but I will say Ghost Fleet again. The fact that they have their bonus to Resurrection, and that's kind of like what that thematically does. Like, that to me was interesting. Or in is it Lightning Division, Storm Division that makes all of the models immune to electricity? Mm. It's like those corner case abilities that are kind of like, hey, that's cool, that's flavorful, that added onto a theme force makes sense to me, because as opposed to a theme force being something that's just, hey, here are free points for you having taken the models you took, it being actually like, hey, you're planning on playing something that is a theme that's literally restricted because you wanted to play with thematic models. I thought that would be more interesting, but there's still a long way for them to go with a lot of it, and there's a lot more coming out with it, so we'll see.
I feel like there's basically three schools of thought on theme forces right now. There's the people that absolutely hate them in every way. Like, they're just, like, screaming from the towers that
I think those
they
people
need to
hate most things.
Yeah, exactly. Those people are called Spence. And they generally just hate life.
I like a lot of
eating,
things.
Breathing, being alive in every way. They just don't like stuff. But maybe they've got a point. So then I think the other group of people are people that feel frustrated by theme forces because they feel like they're the only way to play the game. And those people take theme forces, but do it and are angry about it. From what I've heard, John Damaris falls in that category. He wants to not play a theme force, but he feels like he has to. And then there's the third theme of people are like, just don't give a fuck. Like, that's generally the other people. I think I vaguely fall in that category, at least right now. There was a while when I was really worried about theme forces. I think part of it is that we haven't seen that many theme forces right now, which is part of it. And
that's probably symptomatic of my problem, because until I can see a large skew of them, like a ton of them out there, and all the different, creations that they've made, at this point I'm looking at three things and judging the entirety of it based upon that. So,
and part of it is maybe when you look at it from a certain point of view, I think a lot of them make a lot more sense. Like Oracles, for example, looks very overpowering. It's like a 20 free point list where it's not extremely restricted. You just have to take War Beast, basically. You get some really nice options, and it synergizes very well with a lot of casters.
It's curious that Legion's going to take some War Beasts. You don't usually see a lot of Legion lists with a lot of War Beasts.
When you look at the state of the faction before that theme force, they really didn't. Like, their beasts are a little expensive. They are. They're a little expensive. And everyone was, like, all the Legion players were like, man, we really need to reduce the cost of our War Beasts. But all that happens when you do reduce the cost of the War Beasts is you end up with Oracles. You end up with spammed War Beasts. Except that the last 12 points in that list isn't 2 Hellions, it's 2 Hellmouths, which is a big difference. So maybe the theme forces we're seeing is like, we want Legion to have a beast spam list, but we don't want it to be every Legion list. We don't want them to be able to take all the cool character solos, all the units, all the support pieces. We don't want them to have 5 Shepherds. We want them to be locked into this format if they're going to take a beast spam. So I think that's okay. I think lists like that are okay as long as they don't go too far. Like, for example, a lot of people hate Jaws the Wolf, and justifiably, Jaws the Wolf has one really good theme benefit if your opponent loses AD. But looking at it from the other aspect, if you just took Winter Guard Command, and you can take, like, 4 artillery pieces that cost you, like, 12 points, all your jacks get advanced move, which is roughly the same thing. Like, I end up 4 inches further versus you being 6 inches farther back. Like, it's vaguely similar, and my caster gets sack pawned to these chodes in the back. Like, is that really that bad? Like, that's not a big difference.
I know, but then not to counter that, because you're not wrong, but what I want out of Theme Forces, and this is like we said the other day, it's just me being whiny about it, what I want is something that, like I said, is more, maybe just more, is literally just more impactful on the game, and less in a systematic way, and more in just a thematic way, like seeing different things. Like I want to have a reason to run 12 units of something. I want to. Not necessarily.
Isn't the reason to play 12 units of knights that you want to play 12 units of knights?
No, it's okay.
That seems like a good motivation to me.
Spam tends to be something that happens all the time, which people complain about as well. I mean, they're like, oh, the game's all about spamming things now. I hear that so much, and I just don't think that's necessarily true. I think that can be polarizing.
That is partially true because people want to play Theme Forces. And I don't even think it's that they want to play a spam. They want to play an efficient, strong list. And when you build a theme force,
it rewards you for spamming.
There's always I can't take these 3 character options, so you take their points and put it in the most efficient piece you have left, which ends up being a spam.
Yeah, then you see
that's a product
all these
of the
Winter Guard
system.
riflemen with rockets, because that's what people play now, and it's I don't know.
So you like Crusaders of Sul, right?
You know it's...
You have an engraved dice box that says Crusaders of Sul. So what was the benefit of playing Crusaders of Sul, other than you
started halfway across the table?
You didn't start halfway across the table. You got 2 inches extra deployment.
And you got advanced move
on one unit.
No, not one unit. All units of knights.
Okay. So you started further up the board.
7 inches up the board.
Thematically, what does that do? What theme is involved with that, other than an in-game benefit?
The benefit was your knights can move. Not other things. Your knights get to move. So, like, if you take that theme, which still restricts you to just take these, huh?
You can only really take knights and daughters, right?
You could also take Temple Flame. It was really, really unrestricted.
TFG and knights.
Yeah. The benefit, however, said, hey, Knights Exemplar get to move. That was something specifically for Knights Exemplar, so it rewarded you for taking a specific model. I like that. So it's like you'd see that, and you'd see a huge skew of them because, like, hey, the benefit affects all the units of them, so they're all going to be forward like that. Kind of like in the Winter Guard one, where you take these so your jacks can go. It's like it forces you to take something that's thematic part of what it is, as opposed to girded on your warjacks.
So what's wrong with girded? You don't like girded?
Nothing's wrong with girded itself.
But your jacks are protecting your knights.
That's not part of that. It's not knights, because that's the fucking Flame Guard one. If you take the Flame Guard one, a unit of daughters gets ambushed. Okay, that's cool. I like that.
They're sneaky daughters.
And your jacks get girded.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're going to protect your knights.
They get girded.
What's wrong with the knights?
Mm-hmm. There's no knights. There's no knights at all.
Why? It's because you're not taking knights, Spence.
God damn it. But it's just a matter of I would like to see.
I think blessed on the jacks is a lot bigger deal than you're making it out to be.
I'm not saying it's not. Sure. I'm saying that doesn't mean anything for exemplar models.
Yeah, it does means they're jacks. The expense guy have a stroke.
Well, I just don't think, and it's like also. Well,
no, I understand.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
And like I said, it's not a balance issue. I don't think it has anything to do with the game. I think the state of the game, balance-wise, is roughly.
What could you give knights in their current incarnation?
I think you're absolutely valid when you brought that up, because he said then at this point, the premier units in Protector of Menoth are exemplar models.
You know what the
so to give them something else would put them at 11 effectively, which would make it unbalanced for even anything.
What's the theme benefit for knights right now? It's they're not garbage anymore. The unit is just good on its own, and it has a really good UA.
Absolutely.
So you can take that theme force with anybody.
And at this point,
they're not even going to make you play Krios 2.
At this point, I'm going to take a step back here. At this point, they just showed us with the CID trencher that, hey, here's a theme force for these, and all this new stuff, and we're going to alter the rules on these for this area of your faction. So it's like sitting back thinking like, man, can I run Bastions with the new vessel rules and all that? It's like, we're all thinking about how bad Bastions are on the internet. That's fucking so much group speak about how bad Bastions are and how they're not what they used to be. But if you take that and just put it in your back pocket, stop thinking about it right now, and realize that at some point they're going to release a fucking Menoth book, and it's going to come out, and we're going to get all this crazy other shit.
Revelator.
The Revelator's not a real model. It's never existed. It will never exist.
Richard was telling me about a website that's just got a counter since they announced the Revelator.
It is literally just a count.
It's just counting up until the Revelator.
It's like 280 some odd days or something. No, it's like
thousands.
It's been well over 2 years.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. They showed it on the Facebook group at one point, but it was hilarious. And then I don't know who it is, but whoever's out there that there's one guy that particularly is supposed to reset the clock every time somebody brings up the Revelator. So there's another that's like, hey, how long can we go without mentioning the Revelator coming out? And I'm this close to being just a whiny asshole, and I've done it a couple times on every single Privateer Press post on Facebook. Just like, that's not a Revelator. Where's the Revelator? It's not out there. Like, until they ban.
Did you see that guy that photoshopped the Siege 2 art? He just drew taglines to every bit, and it's not a Revelator, not a Revelator's arm,
also not a Revelator. This is not a. And then somebody was like,
"Where's my Revelator?"
At some point, literally, I think it was Hungerford or something like that posted the shoulder-mounted cannon, look,
the condemned.
And somebody's like, "It's coming." I'm like, "No, it's fucking not." Fuck you.
That's been in the studio since before they thought.
Are you
of
fucking
the
kidding me? I've already seen all this bullshit. Okay, fuck you. Okay, until you put that goddamn model on the fucking shelf. That's some bullshit. We got the fucking Sea King. There are 3 gargantuans released for that faction since they announced the Revelator. Fuck them, okay? Fuck them. That's some bullshit.
Spence seems upset about this.
Just give me an excuse. Throw something out there. I need a bone. Be like, hey, the truck went off a bridge, or hey, we're just lazy, don't fucking care.
North Korea nuked the Revelator factory.
Just give me some reasoning as to why we're waiting this long for it. Hey, it's a shipping thing.
I want to get back to Theme Forces, though.
Okay, yeah. Revelator Theme Force.
Revelator Theme Force. In this Theme Force, all Revelators gain
Scott, you're being awfully quiet.
For
over
every
there.
Revelator you take, you get a free Revelator.
Yeah. Free Revelators count towards this bonus.
Scott, you're being quiet.
He muted himself because you're so aggressive.
That's what it is.
I agree that I don't necessarily like how formulaic Theme Forces have become. I want more things that are specific to the units or the models that they're in. I also think it would be cool if the Theme Forces followed kind of a flow of a theme of this battle or that thing, something that you could kind of pick out of the Iron Kingdoms and say, okay, well, at the Battle of Castia, or at the Battle of Seoul, you had Siege and Striker 2, and so we're going to make a theme force that can take Siege, Striker 2, Siege 2, Striker 3, Striker 1, whatever. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to include these Signar models because they were present, and then maybe we have to kind of fudge that a little bit because balance is a thing, and then maybe we do the same thing with Protectorate, so you would have Harbinger and Krios, and Mikhail was there, right?
Yeah, but
Mikhail
I want
Krios?
Sevi to be in, a Theme Force, in the future, so...
He means things in the past also.
Yeah,
I was just
kidding.
Yeah, you could just go through and you could cut
the Kingmaker one is a perfect example of that.
Well, so far, Retribution and Mercs are the only 2 that are caster restricted.
Really?
Yeah. Mercenaries because they have their charters or whatever, and then Retribution because they get upset.
I just...
I don't even want to... You weren't here. I fucking raged when we got through the Red Battle Engine. I was so
Didn't
mad.
it get better?
Let's not talk about
God damn it. I'll listen later, but holy fuck.
I got real mad. I just talked over Scott angrily the entire time he was trying to explain what it did.
Fuck Rhett. Fuck every bit of Rhett's fluff.
Anyway, back to Theme Forces. So, I like Scott's idea on Theme Forces. I think mainly people just need to think about Theme Forces in the aspect of what they actually are. So, a lot of times, they're different than the Theme Forces we had in Mark II. Because they give more points, I think, is mainly what people have a problem with. Legion getting 20 free points, is apparently a big deal. But realistically, it's not, because you have to look at the models that are being discounted. The models that are paying for the discount, and the models that are being discounted, probably all overpriced.
Like a design space type thing is what you're saying?
Right, so, giving Legion 20 free points is a fucking enormous deal, right? But giving Legion these exact 4 models worth 20 points, not as big of a deal. because you're limiting the damage that 20 points
I
can
think
do.
that's very
By
valid.
paying-
Things need to be said like that. Like,
Right.
are you giving them 20 free
We have
points,
no
or are you giving them
argument that
support
Legion's
staff?
beasts pay a premium for the rules on their cards. There's no question about that. They almost all have Flight, Eyeless Sight, Pathfinder, some combination of abilities, and they have a lot of like bullshit rules like Scather and like all this other stuff, Auto Fire, Swift Hunter, things that are very important. Like, there's no question that their beasts are quality, but generally they're actually costed effectively, unlike in Mark II, when all their beasts were 2 points undercosted for no reason, except for the Carnivian. Like, so we're seeing the opposite of that in Mark III. So it's okay to give them 20 free points when you say, well, I'm probably just over by 8 to 12 points on my beast package anyway. And these solos that I'm taking are probably 2 points overcosted anyway. So you're giving them 18 free points in a list that's 20 points or 12 points too expensive. They're only really getting 6 free points. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
I think that the restriction on what you get is exceptionally valid when it comes to the free points thing.
Yeah,
I'm not interested. The free point thing is, it's cool. I get free points. I like that. I was going to take these models anyway. You know how I build it. I don't like, okay, well, I'm going to build. Here's a question. Okay, for the theme that everybody fucking talks about, which is Ghost Fleet, if it didn't have those benefits, would that list still be talked about so much? Like, is that valid?
No, if you didn't get the +1 to the die and you didn't get +1 to go first, well, that's the thing. Its powerful benefits are not point cost. It's not.
So,
like, you get free points in the list, but no one cares about the free points. It's all about what the models do on the table, and they're making Revenants, which were arguably overcosted originally, now undercosted because you get the free points, and you're amplifying their unit effects like probably 30%. So you're getting a pretty big difference. Like, for example, at Gateway Open over the last weekend, Chuck played against Ghost Fleet in the quarterfinals of Masters. He lost 2 models in his Kingmaker list and killed 300 models during his opponent's game.
Is that a legit number?
In one turn, he killed like 32. Like, it was ridiculous, the number of guys he killed. He knocked the units down to just the lead, or just the one guy that was on the backboard edge, like 4 times. He only lost 2 guys because he had killed so much of his opponent's army. And they just sat there, but he couldn't win the game because he still had dudes left. And he had Incorporal models standing on flags, and Mercs have a problem with Incorporal. Like you just can't clear the flags to win. So it gets to the point where there's still like minutes of time left, and they start taking 15-second turns back and forth.
That's a fun game.
Yeah, real fun game. I was sitting there watching it towards the end, and Chuck's like, all right, allocate 1, boost hit here, everything else runs, and puts his hand on the clock and is watching it count down. He's like, 29, 28, 27, go. Because he's waiting for the 15 seconds to come off his clock. And then his opponent takes some time, hits clock back, and they keep going. And eventually Chuck gets up on time because the guy didn't realize how quickly he needed to play. And then they just do this every 15 seconds for the rest of the game, and the game ends. And Chuck wins by 2 seconds. And you're like,
I don't think is that a problem with theme forces, though?
That's not. Well, the problem is that theme force will cause that to happen. You have a list that's effectively unkillable unless you have exactly the right tools to kill it.
God, it's so frustrating. But then I'll say at this point, though, if you were to play the list without the theme force benefits, then that
doesn't happen because he runs out of guys faster. He doesn't have 15 free points on the board, or wherever it's 12, 11, 15, whatever the points are.
Okay.
He doesn't have those 15 free points, and he recurs 3 less models a turn, which adds up real quick on like turn 15.
I'm not sure the logical point of balancing whatever the hell that would be. Because it's a recursion mechanic, and it's...
Exactly. So it turns out that recursion is really hard to balance. Yeah. But anyway.
Are you going to tell me the undead army that has recursion it shouldn't do recursion that well? That's... Maybe...
There's no question that's the best recursion in the game, but...
It just seems to me like that's something I don't know. I've played it one time, so it's hard pressed for me to sit here and try to...
And of course, we're also going to have limited turns.
Right. Limited turns is going to be important, but it's still... I want to see 2017. I want to play it a little bit, because they've made some changes to it, I've heard, and I really want to see what they are before I start raving about 2017. But I think I'm going to like it.
From what little bit I've seen people play of it, I think it's going to be good for the overall game. At first, I was very apprehensive of the idea of limited turns. I was apprehensive about the idea of, let's just add more fucking zones in the goddamn table for no fucking reason. But seeing it and actually hearing the restrictions as to what can score what, like, it seems like there's a lot more thought going into it and then just add shit. So I'll restrict my bitching about it until I see it played a bunch of times. I'll say see because we both know I don't play the game, but...
So anyway,
You too?
a lot of people are complaining about the theme forces, and I think more than anything, we haven't seen the meta fully develop yet. Like, everyone thought the meta was developed before Warmachine Weekend, and that's back when 3 heavies was a lot. So, like, we really need to sit back and like if the Mad Dog list came out right now, it wouldn't be nearly as big of a deal. It really wouldn't, because people are more prepared to deal with it now than ever. Like, that was back when Baldur 2 Double World Wrath was, like, unstoppable.
I do also think that a lot of times whenever I hear so much stuff about a theme list, I think about it a hell of a lot more than I actually care to when I'm playing a game. Like, because when I sit down against Legion of Steel, I've seen the list plenty of times, I've played against it plenty of times right now, and it's a
good list.
It is, and
but it's not like
I've had to push my
crushing.
shit in plenty of times now because I was looking at it like, what am I gonna do? But now when I sit down across from it, like, and not building against it, not like, teching for it, I realize what it can do. I know because it can do these things, I know what it can't do also. And I don't know. I wonder if Ghost Fleet's gonna be the same fucking way because it's such a different thing than playing a billion fucking heavies, or it's a different thing than every other list out there. I wonder if that's why it seems so much core, because nobody's bringing a good balanced list against it. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if it's just, is it Haley 2, Lich 2, or is it just the flavor of the
Fiora
week?
2. It's just a solid list.
That's what I'm serious.
It's not a meta bender, but it's a solid
Say
list.
Fiora 2. You can't say that anymore.
Well, not anymore. But
That's a really sore spot for some people.
But the thing I'm excited about is once I think we get to a conclusion in the meta, we'll start to see people breaking theme to get the answer pieces they need to actually beat the strong lists.
I can have one piece in many lists that I build. Like, I can't take a Hierophant in this list, and I really want a Hierophant, so I guess, no, I'm not going to build that. There are things like that, like in the Menoth ones, which aren't that polarizing, really. I mean, they're good, but they're not the crazy big ones. I will play out of theme for specific benefits, like, oh, I can take the Hierophant, or oh, I want to take Idrians, or something like that. It's like they're not in the theme I want to play. Okay, well, I guess I'm not playing theme. Whereas I wonder if some factions are coming across being kind of pigeonholed into playing themes.
Definitely one is Celifix.
What is?
Celifix.
What do
They have to play in their
Yeah,
theme.
they have to play in theme.
Right.
Unfortunately for them. Poor guys.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, Carl Morgan from Springfield posted something on his thing. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Me, Scott, and Brent have been talking about it. But
Scott, Brent, and I.
So we were talking about.
Remember, English is the second language.
Yeah, speak jive.
Oh God.
Anyway, Carl was talking to Jason Watt, and Jason Watt was talking about how he thought Mark III should be played at 85 points. He thought that was a more standardized point level for it. He thought that you were able to fill out an army better and deal with all the problems. I don't know if I agree with that so much, but it created a conversation that ended up being, do you think that non-theme force lists should just get 10 extra points? So basically there's a generic list option of plus 10 points, or you can play a theme force. And I am very against that for many reasons, one of which being some theme forces don't give plus 10 points. Other theme forces give like plus 11 and like no other real benefits.
I mean, if you just give 10 points, there's no restrictive aspect.
Right, yeah. So you
like
just
most
create
theme forces
spamming.
are like, you have to take
Like, I'll
20
just
to
play
30
Jaws
points
out of
extra.
Jaws and get 10 more jack points.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually wonder if whenever point costs are assigned to a model, because they're obviously balanced around the most common thing, which is 75 points. But I wonder if they think of like percentage of your army. It's like, this is going to be this percent of an army. So this needs to be strong enough to be a fourth of an army, or this needs to be strong enough to be, so if you were to just randomly say, okay, well, we're going to change this, I wonder if that would drastically alter the value of models. Because the game played outside of its 75 points, you do see weird things happen. You do. I mean, I used to, when we were up at Pulp, I told you the 5-point game, I loved it so much. But you can fucking destroy shit with some things and having 5 points
it's
only.
just a big rock, paper, scissors game.
It becomes really awkward. Whereas I think at a certain point value, not that 10 points is a huge tipping point, but I think when you start altering your point values for the games, it becomes... You can take enough time to find the outlying spikes of averages and the outlying spikes of what's no longer economically efficient or is now overly economically efficient. It's like some things just shouldn't be like that. We were talking about Behemoth and how good Behemoth is, and like the worst thing they could have done. This is a while just jokingly we were talking about like how
he could have made 25 points.
Yeah, like reduce his point cost by 1 so he couldn't be taken by himself.
That'd be the biggest nerf. Yeah,
it's like.
But that was back when people didn't take Jax.
Well, I think that is just that idea. Like things are pointed out at a specific percentage of your whole force, as opposed to just, I think it should be worth this many shekels. It's like that's not how it works.
9 shekels.
Do you know what a guy can do with a whole thing full of shekels? Yeah, I know.
I suggested on the chat that they, instead of doing plus 10 points, they do 10 points of specialist or 20 points of specialist or some combination of specialist points. We just made regular Steamroller a specialist format. Because all the tournaments I run are ADR anyway. What that brings along, you have to play one of the casters off this list. If you just made all non-theme forces specialists, I think that would give a long way towards balancing out the extreme theme forces spamming. Because the best way to deal with a skew is to have flexibility, and the best way to get flexibility in your list post-construction is specialists. So
I can see that.
So I think people, by and large, are far too dependent on building a theme right now anyway. So I think specialists would actually help kind of slide people away or kind of like dig them out of the way of feeling that in order to play competitively, they have to build in theme. Because I honestly don't believe that's true. I've been looking at Khador list pairs for a while, trying to decide on what I'm going to play at Texas Games Con. I've been looking at troll list pairs for a while, and with trolls, it's really easy to step away from themes because your themes really, honestly, they're not that good. Like, Power of Dooney is fine, but the Northkin Shaman's a little underwhelming, so it's a give or take, but it is a fine theme. Band of Heroes is a little lackluster in most situations, but does have situations where it is exceptionally good. And then, of course, we all know the 3 Khador themes. But I've been kind of looking at that, and I'm like, well, it feels to me I'm trying to solve problems in my list pair with themes, and what I should be doing is solving the problems in my list pair and then seeing if themes apply to it. And I feel like that's the difference in mindset. So I think, like, with that being said, like, I think, like, that's actually a problem with theme, building in theme anyway right now, is that people are saying, well, themes don't really limit you. Well, maybe for 70% of your games, you're taking all the stuff you'd normally take anyway, but there's 30% of your games out there where a pair of theme lists can't fix your problem.
Yeah.
And we see that all the time. Just listening to Khador players talk about Ghost Fleet, they're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And it's like, well, we have Source of 2. Like, you can answer Ghost Fleet. Like, it's possible. And they're just like, well, yeah, but you can't take Source of 2 in a theme because there's no theme that really helps her out except Winter Guard Command. And Winter Guard Command's not that good with Source of 2 because of blah. And I'm just like, well, so why, like, just like the conversation we had a couple weeks ago, Brandon, like, why don't we play out a theme then?
Mm-hmm.
And I even posted that question on the Khador Facebook group. I was like, at what point do you decide that playing in theme becomes a liability? Because I think I've hit that point, and I'm not sure it's the right decision to take into a balanced or an event where you're going to have a wide range of potential matchups. I don't think you actually can play in theme with both of your lists if you intend to cover your most problematic matchups. I think it's built that way. I think it's built that way on purpose, right?
Yeah, I think it is, and we did touch on that slightly, but you covered it better. I think at some point people are going to need to realize they have to break theme to fix their problems. And I was just thinking about what we were talking here, and I think because we've heard them say that the design aspect of the game is they expect most lists to be in theme, but all that's really saying
that's been said.
That's been said by the devs before. They expect at least one of your lists to be in theme, pretty much. If you actually just think about that, that makes sense from an aesthetic point of view, because you shouldn't see all the same characters in every list like we did in Mark II. Like, there shouldn't be Saxon and Piper and Ion and Holt and Silas, like, shouldn't be on every battlefield versus each other. Like, that shouldn't be how that works. Like, Gorman shouldn't be on 80% of the tables. Like, that's not how the game was really intended to work. But that's how it ended up working, because you found the most powerful versatile models and you put them in every list. Like, and that really hasn't been happening. I mean, you see some character jack, like Behemoth floats around pretty hard. So does Thorn and stuff like that. But with outside of those, you really don't see the same characters other than like Strange Ways, because he's so fundamental to the meta right now because magical weapons are so important.
What I kind of suggested was have more thematic stuff. So like Scorn being able to take Vinter.
Nope. I'm out. Sorry, Jeremy, I'm out.
But you don't get free points, you just get one free model.
A specific free model?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it go back to the tier system instead of just points spent on certain things.
I like the tier.
Like the old, have 3 heavy warjacks, you get X. Like, it's a one-time buff, you get it once, that's it. Like, we should stick clear of the so-and-so gets point reduction, so-and-so gets FAU, so-and-so gets blank. Like, steer clear of those a little bit, but see more of the, if you have 2 or more units of this, because, we're basically on the tier system now, it's just...
If this, then this.
It's every bullet point is for every point you spend in X, you get Y. Like, if everyone is that, then you're just going to pick one and throw everything into it. Like, because that's how the game works. You can't beat math. Like, that's part of the game. So, if it was more like, well, if you spend at least 50 points on Warjacks, you get 1 free X. And you're like, okay. Not like where it's, you spend, for every 5 points you spend on Revenants, you get 10 free Revenants. Like, oh, great.
That's kind of how it feels, actually, right now.
That is how that feels, but...
Like, I look at an opponent's list sometimes, just in my head, just jokingly, I'll try and... Oh, it's a theme. Okay, so I gotta figure out what models over there are free. Just in my head, I want to figure out, what is free? What is he getting for
anything
playing
that's
a
not a
completely
unit
fine
is
list?
probably free.
It's like, this is a completely fine list. Now, what over there could we just take off the table and it still be a completely fine list? Are those the free models?
I don't think that's how you define a completely fine list.
I don't know. I just feel like that's how I want themes to be. Hey, here's extra. Here's icing, not...
Especially now that they got the Hellslinger Phantom that fits in Ghost Fleet, because you get like a 7-point free solo.
I'm so thoroughly shocked by everything I've seen that fucking model do. Like, I shouldn't be shocked by seeing some shitty fucking magic.
He hasn't hit an attack in a game against me yet. And it might be that I just specifically headshot him every time. I'm like, get that guy the fuck out of here.
I see him, I'm like, okay, well, and he'll come like, I'm gonna kill 12 models. I'm like, can he do that? I'm like, I actually don't know if he can do that.
It's a dangerous amount of models.
He kills a lot, and I'm like, that's free. Okay, it's not that his theme list didn't give him that fucking 25-point model. His theme list said, I don't get 60 models in my list. Like, they don't get to be on the table. That's just fucking frustrating, but...
Yeah. I expect Ghost Fleet to get looked at, but...
The one fucking game I had against him, it wound up being a soul collection thing. So he wound up shooting that model, toward the end of his fucking rampage of killing everything, and Gravis was nearby, and I was like, wait a second. So... I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Who gets the soul right now? And he's like, well, I think I get the soul regardless. I'm like, I know you think you get the soul regardless, but let's go ahead and look at let's see what this says, and then see how it actually works instead of just what you want, because I would like to know the correct way. If it's you get it, and you get what you want there, that's awesome, but this is not a... Well, and then he starts looking at it, I'm like, okay, does it say that anywhere on there? Well... It's the sort of thing where, the other person says obviously what they want, and they stand vehemently beside it, no, that's how it works. I'm like, I'm sure.
I would like someone other than you to give me their decision.
Because I want to say it in a way aside from, I know that's what you want, and I obviously don't want that. So, we need something that's not you and I just looking at each other saying, well, who wants to give? It's how do I explain that to a full-grown adult? It's like to imagine
all of your games go exactly like this every turn. It's like, can I move here? And you're like, well, I'd like you to not move there. And you're like, well, I'd like to. And then you just have this conversation instead of actually just doing what the rules say.
It's like, okay, God damn it, how fast is your model? That's the discussion back and forth. Do I have to explain to you where your model can move? Because it's a multitude of areas in this region. He's like, well, can I go over there? It's like, is that part of this region? It's a, if this, then this. We're just going to do that the whole time.
Well, it kind of reminds me of a game I played at the beginning of Mark III, where they were talking about the intent of the player, right? And so you should declare your intent and what you wanted to do. And my opponent moves up a model, and he ends it. I was playing in a tournament. I was playing as a troll player, and I have Vlad 1, and I have a Behemoth, and he moves up Ragnar, and he moves him up too close. And so Behemoth is like, well, I think I can just go 14 inches or 13 inches across the table, just kill you. And my opponent was like, well, obviously my intent was not to be in your melee range. And I'm like,
did you ever check or declare that?
There are some players when they do that, there's a discussion that goes back and forth there, and if it doesn't happen, like, it's just, there are some people who are super nice that you kind of just want to have that, like, dude, okay, so, shit, how do I...
You just died.
Okay, don't put him there. Why? It's like, I can kill you right now. It's like, oh no, you're not. It's like, yeah, you're complete. I think you're completely in. It's like, I don't want to tell them that, but I feel like I shouldn't fucking have to. But there are plenty of games where you kind of gotta tell them. It's like, hey, is your intention to be outside here? Like, is that what?
Yeah, I was playing a game of Butcher 3 versus. I was in Kansas City. I was playing in a tournament, and I was playing a game with Butcher 3 against a guy playing, I think, Lilith 1 or Lilith 2. I can't remember. And so he moves up Lilith.
Jason hasn't played a game of Warmachine since this game.
You ruined him.
Really?
Yeah.
You ruined him, Scott.
I was nice to him.
Way to destroy the meta.
Like, he won that game. But he moved up Lilith, like, to be within, like, 13 inches of Butcher. And Butcher had vengeance because he had killed, like, one of the dogs. And so I looked at him, and, like, he finishes moving, and I just put my hand up, like, pause, like, just wait. And so I'm just kind of thinking there for a second, and I'm going through, like, this moral dilemma of, like, if I let him leave his warlock there, like, she's dead. Like, because Butcher gets to her with no problems whatsoever.
You say that. I've had plenty of times that failed.
Sure, but it's very unlikely. You and I both know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there going through this moral dilemma, and finally I came to this point where I'm just like, dude, don't put your warlock there. Like, if you put your warlock there, I just kill her. And he looks at me and he's like, how? And I'm like, because I'm going to energize her 2 inches this way, and then blah, 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 butcher 3 things. He was like, oh, okay. He's like, well, thanks for that, you know. And so he backs her off and he moves her back, and then I end up coming forward and I end up getting Butcher killed, because that's what I do. Well, okay, yeah, dice were actually a pretty big part of that.
Well, there's always a weird step in there where you're trying not to be dick. Like, dude, I'll so fucking kill her if she's there. It's like, there's a way of, and I know you, Scott, I know you weren't being an asshole about it, but, like, there are plenty of people out there who are like I've bigger events, I'll go somewhere, I'm playing somebody I don't know, and, like, there's, like, I get maybe 3 ways of presenting this. 1, you don't say anything at all. You just let it be there and you kill their fucking caster, and you're an asshole for doing that, but I mean, I was an asshole for letting it happen. 2, they move up and you're like, I'm so gonna kill her if she stands right there. Dude, no, and, like, you be a dick about it. And 3 is like, okay, so I guess I'm gonna tell you, but I don't wanna, okay. I can move here, and that's gonna be, it's like trying to be super nice. So, I don't know.
Ultimately, it's the player's decision, and it's the player's choice to make the best decisions they can.
And it's not my responsibility to tell my opponent how to play the game.
You're absolutely right. But there is still...
9 out of 10 games, I think I do tell them, hey, don't forget this is kill box.
So that's what I do. Or, like, I'll be like, hey, like, if it's somebody I don't know, because Spence is absolutely right. Like, there's this weird kind of, I don't know, dick measuring contest, for lack of a better phrase, where you're just kind of looking at your opponent going, you know, if you put them there, I'll kill them, bruh. There's this weird, like, thing where you don't want to be a jerk about it, but you're really like, I don't want to be a jerk to you. And, like, I don't know.
Maybe it depends on the opponent, too, because there have been plenty of times where, like I said, a bigger event, if I don't know them, but, like, this is a tournament or something like that, Fire Salvation is going to move 5 inches at the beginning of my turn. I have the token there. I announced that he has Righteous Vengeance. It's there. It's going to happen. Okay. I'm not telling you anything else after that. So you move something up, and he's going to get to it.
The one that does usually annoy me is Vengeance. When someone doesn't say Vengeance triggers, and doesn't mark it, and then just goes with Vengeance, that sometimes will annoy me.
I can completely respect that. I think I walk this weird line between wanting to give my opponent too much information, sometimes with stupid things, and other times not giving them information because I don't want to, like, telegraph everything I'm going to do. But, like, the weirdest thing is, like, okay, well, I don't want to have to tell them everything this model can do. They should be aware of it. But if something happens, I need to let them know that it's happening. So in Menoth, you do have plenty of battle-driven, you have Vengeance, you have Righteous Vengeance, you have all these things. You have shield guards. Like, there are some things that I don't want to be gotchas. Like, they just shouldn't be. Like, there are gotchas in the game, and I just feel like those are the things that we just need to maybe announce, that sort of thing. Like, you're less aware of this, so be aware that this model can do that. Like I said, it's not my job to teach everybody in the game what models do. But, like, if I'm ever playing a game, and this has happened more than once, if I say it, I pop my feet and I start doing things, and my feet is doing things, and, like, if the feet's going up, and you just for some reason don't know what the model's feet is, it's your fucking job to ask me. It's not my job to, like, I pop my feet. Do you know what that does? Like, I hate that shit. That's the most annoying, frustrating shit in the entire world. Like, except for when rep players keep calling their jacks by their names. Stop it. Just stop it.
So I played in Mark II at Pulp one time. I was playing Osram. I had Bullet Dodger on Eris 2. And I can't remember who I was playing against. It was one of your locals. And
It was Connor.
was it Connor?
Connor's the only local that plays Ret.
Okay. So I think it was a Sentinel or something. I trigger Vengeance on my turn. He Vengeances forward with like a Sentinel and misses Eris with Bullet Dodger up. So I Vengeance into range, and he wasn't playing red. What was he playing? It was like Damiano or something.
That's definitely not him. That might have been Dev then.
Yeah. So they miss, I think it was a Death March like Steelhead or something, and missed with a free strike, or missed with the Vengeance attack. I Bullet Dodger into 5 inches of 3 heavies so he can't placate, because it was in the maintenance phase they Vengeance. Yeah. And he got really mad at me, and I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why'd you attack a Bullet Dodgered Eris with a Vengeance attack?
I don't know. I would probably be pissed that happened, but I get pissed when I do a lot of things on the table too. But there are some times when your opponent doesn't know what a model does, and they fucking should. If you don't know a caster's feat before the game starts, you really should take a step back.
It kind of goes back to like the old saying where, like, I forget where I was playing, but I looked over at my opponent and I asked my opponent, I'm like, do you know what Doomshaper 3's feat does? And do you know what his scrolls do? And my opponent said no. And I'm like, do you, like, if you want to look them up, like, my tablets doesn't have a password. You can just unlock it and just look at everything in my army. And my opponent's like, yeah, no, not that big of a deal. And then he comes into me with his army on my feet turn, and I'm just like...
Spence has done that before.
I have done that before.
You recommend that?
That was Mark II, Jeremey 3 as well, so that was even fucking worse.
I think it's worse now.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't they have, like, you lose a die and they heal?
They heal D3, now they just heal, like, D3 plus 3.
Yeah, I think losing a die and healing is just fucking a bitch.
It depends, because you're more likely to break armor and do less now. I don't know.
I had all weapons.
You can heal more now, actually. Actually, it is better, because if it does 1 damage, you still heal D3 plus 3.
Yeah.
So it has a higher chance of actually just healing wounds back.
It's so fucking brutal.
You're like, I charge you, roll bad, gain 5 health. Sweet!
There are some things in my army, like, I don't consider them gotchas at all. Like, if someone's feet gets you, if you don't know what a basic, like, if I'm playing against somebody and, like, suddenly they're Dire Troll Mauler, like, chain attack, I'm like, fuck, I didn't know he had that. I'm like, that's not your fault for, but, like, my favorite thing ever was Haley 2 with Kraos, and he killed everything I fucking had. I had 1 Knight Exemplar left. Kraos, like, killed the 2 Nists that were on it, and then that Knight just charged Haley. It was the last night in Unit Knights in Mark II. It's like, I charged fucking Haley. After I popped my feet, that Knight charges her. I'm like, so I grabbed a handful of dice, I dropped, and he's like, is she dead? Because he'd been a dick the whole game. And he's all like, well, did you hit her? I was like, well, I popped my feet, so I'm gonna hope so. Yeah. And he's all like, well, what's your feet do? So I just hand him the card. I'm like, that's not... You had no respect for anything your opponent's army could do because you're playing like a dick. That's what you're doing. But no, he didn't kill her. He left her on 2 boxes. So then he's like, yeah, so she's alive. So then I picked up all the dice but 1. I dropped him again. It's like, so is she dead now? He's like, what's hitting her? I'm like, would you like to look at the card again? Something like that. I don't mind being a dick because don't sit across the opponent. Don't sit across from your opponent. Disacknowledge everything all of his models can do. Roll over him the whole fucking game, and then suddenly be shocked about the one rule you just didn't know. That's
Spence. Why are you a dick?
Humanity.
So that actually. Like, that's actually kind of what happened. So when the guy like, completely dismissed what Doomshaper 3's feat does.
It's a terrible idea.
And then he comes into me, and then he's like, what do you mean I'm not damaging anything? I'm like, no, like, you're beating the dog snot out of that Mauler. The problem is I'm healing for 6 every time you hit me. Or 5 or 4, or whatever the case may be. And he's like, well, wait a minute. And then, like, I went through, and I'm like, okay, on my next turn, I'm going to put up my Lamentation Scroll. And so, like, I go into my next turn, I put up my Lamentation Scroll, and then he looks at me and he's like, Jesus Christ, it's like Doomshaper 3 has 3 fucking feats. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of does.
Yep, Lamentation, the feat.
And he just, like, he got, like, really, like visibly frustrated at what happened, and I'm just like, well, like I can't, like I offered you my tablet. I've offered to answer you every question that I can. I'm not trying to be a jerk to you. It's just, at what point do you accept responsibility for the fact that you played the game poorly, you didn't pay attention, and then now you lost the game because of it? Because there are games when I play against players that I play the game poorly and I make bad decisions, and I accept the responsibility of that outcome because those were my decisions to make. At what point do you do the same, right? And I know we're veering dangerously off topic from Theme Forces and stuff.
We've been off topic from Theme Forces for a while.
But, like, that's actually a frustration that I have, though, especially in the tournament scene, which kind of makes me sometimes uneasy in, like, larger tournaments and stuff, because I don't want situations like that to happen. But that stuff legitimately bothers me. And, like Spence is like, I don't have a problem being an asshole about stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you don't. But, like, it legitimately bothers me. And I wish I could see it like Spence does.
The turnaround there, Scott, it was simple. Like, let your opponent be the asshole, and then, like, once they've announced I am a horrible raging prick, like, once they've played that card and they decided to be an asshole, I don't want to be that person's friend anyway. Like, every tournament I go to, whether it be local or any of these big ones, like, I personally, it's pretty obvious, do not have the drive to be one of the top tier players. It's not going to happen. It's not that I've just decided that I can't do it. I know the effort I want to put into this game. I know what I want out of it, and I'd rather, if I go to like a local event, like the last one we did, I played against Portugal. I don't fucking know them. There are people who come from out of town to come here and play. And I was off work. It was a Sunday. We scheduled it. It was great. I got to play these people. Now, I could stomp the dog shit out of a newer player that just happened to travel from somewhere to a tournament. Like, I could just do that because they're a newer player. They don't know the game well enough. Not that I'm good. They just don't have the experience to beat someone who knows more about the game. But do I really want to win the tournament that bad, or do I rather, this guy's pretty cool. He just is pretty laid back with the game. He's more casual. He just wants to relax and play the game. That's more fun to me than I'm going to stomp the dog shit out of this newbie. Like, that's not so. But if I'm playing against somebody who, and this has happened before, who is a complete fucking dick, and they want to be a jerk about it the whole time, I mean, if they want to be like that, I don't care about that person at all. I don't want them in the game. I don't want to play with them. I don't want them to friend me on Facebook afterward. I don't want them to be like, yeah, Spence is a cool dude. I don't want them at all in the world. And since I can't legally just tack hammer them in the face, I'll be a dick. Everybody, well, and it's like the same thing. It's like, you don't want to bury yourself under these assholes. Like, just don't do the people who are assholes. The people who are nice, dude, lose a game to a nice person. Every fucking time. It's completely worth it to lose a game to a nice person. Like, not because they're nice, because you're actually getting to sit there and enjoy the game. You don't have to be on the rails like you do with every other tournament player out there who's really trying to be competitive. You can just be more laid back and talk to them like a person and enjoy the game.
But you didn't lose to me.
Didn't I lose to you?
No.
Oh, that was my heart. I'm sorry. I lost my heart to you.
Oh.
I don't think that's what happened.
Oh, L2 Wargame, bringing hearts together.
Heart.
Doo-doo.
I don't have a heart anymore. He took it. He didn't give me one.
So anyway, in the first round of the first qualifier at Gateway, I lost to Brent because Brent pre-measured to put his Hurricane within 14 inches of a Marauder, and I'm sitting there like
what?
processing.
You let him pre-measure?
Yeah, I know. So he puts down all of his markers and marks the 14, and he's noticeably inside the 14. And I'm like, did you just measure this strange, or are you within 14 of this Marauder? He's like, no, I'm within 14 of that one, but I'm not within 14 of any other ones. I'm like, okay, that matters a lot. And he's like, well, because one Marauder won't kill an Arcane Shield at Stormwall. And I'm like,
Brent's playing Signar?
And I did the math real quick. In the middle of his turn, I do the math. I'm like, no, that plus Behemoth's Gun's like, you're dead. And he's like, oh, well, I should not do that. It's like, that's correct. So I lose that game after I explained, and it wasn't that he made the mistake of where he put his model. He intentionally put his model in threat range, thinking he would be okay, and just didn't do the math on how much damage that does. And so I lost that game because I told my opponent that they shouldn't do that. And Brent's the level of player that doesn't need my help usually. So I'm gonna try playing.
Yeah, but he typically plays Legion.
Sure, that has nothing to do with math.
I just really don't want Brent.
It turns out most things get charged by Marauders and Legion also die.
Yeah.
Hey Spence, if it makes you feel any better, I don't like the idea of Brent playing Signar either.
Why don't you like the idea of Brent playing Signar?
Because I like Brent, and I don't like Signar. You see how
I
this
just don't
happens?
like the idea of
It's like, I really like McAllister sweet tea, but I hate human shit. So I don't mix them together, okay? This is very similar to that. This is like, hey, Brent's great and all, and I can walk over the table and see that shit on the fucking table. It's frustrating.
Actually, I'm pretty excited for Brent. He seems like he's having a lot of fun with Signar right now. And then, like, he'll probably switch off to another faction to go play in some other event with. So
I hope so.
it'll be fine. It's not all bad, Spence. He's still the Brent we know and love.
Everything about Signar is a
Going way
backside.
too far with those statements.
When he says we, we're not including you. We understand that you hate most things.
Yeah.
Like, you say I hate all things, you know that's not true.
All right. So, in summary of theme forces, we should take it with a grain of salt. I think people should, especially the people that are complaining about having to play theme forces, you should probably just find a list that isn't a theme force list out of theme.
I just play anything.
I mean, if he wants a really good list to play out of theme in Khador, look up Chris Davies' Vlad 2 list from last year, because that list is amazing. Look up your Warmachine weekend list with Malakov 2 from last year. Both of those lists don't play in theme, and they are still quite good.
I don't know if the Malakov list holds up to the current meta, but some small adjustments could be made to make it. So, yeah. But yeah, that list has fallen behind the times, but I think Malakov 2 is still good, just not that list.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's going to be some adjustment, because that list didn't account for Forge Seers.
It didn't account for Jack
and, like,
spam
some things are
because people weren't playing armor
Sure.
spam at the time.
But I do, like, I guess if I was going to sum up themes, I would say that people need to look at list building, especially in a competitive list bear. I feel like people need to look at list building from a different perspective. We're looking at how do I fix problems with themes, and we should be thinking, how do I fix problems and can I make a theme fit?
But how else do I get trenchers and mercs?
Well, Jeremy, I can only solve some problems, sir. I can't solve them all.
Just put them in your list. Most people won't care.
That's mostly true.
I mean, most people don't
just
know,
tell them if they're an ally unit.
Like, Jeremy, are you playing enough people that would really, like, present that as an issue?
Are you playing enough people that would literally say anything if you put Earthbreaker down with Magnus? They're like, yeah, that seems fine.
There are some, I gotta find something to do like that, to just, like, put them on the table and to, like, just tell people it's something else. And just see how far I can go with it. Not to break the game, just so it's something that's obviously not supposed to be that way. God damn it, I gotta think of something. You know what? I'm gonna start doing it with my Flamebringers. They're gonna start jumping. Scott, you see my Flamebringers? I put, instead of putting them on the little ponies, I put them on the cats from the Ferox.
The Ferox.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start moving, and then they're gonna jump, and then they're gonna reposition. And people are gonna be pissed.
Just claim they're all
Oh my
dragoons.
god, it's going to be amazing.
How many games can I get away with doing that?
The whole unit came with a unit. Yeah, you just put a daughter down every time one dies. You're like,
That would be hilarious.
Shit.
They're dragoons.
Either that or they just leap off the...
So I have the cat mounted there. That'd be hilarious. Like that's how they work. Everybody knows Flamebringers are good. I doubt most people will have any idea what they actually do. Just play strictly casual games to see who actually is the first person who's like, no, they don't do that. The problem is I feel like a really big asshole because they're already really good. If you just add...
If you just did the Dragoon thing and tried to put the dismount daughters down, I'd be willing to bet at least 1 in 3 of your games nobody would say anything.
I guarantee it.
Like, yeah, they're Dragoons. He's like, huh. Alright.
That's
and the next time I'm like, are you fucking retarded? Like,
That's why they didn't give them guns, because daughters don't have guns. It's the same weapons.
Hey, fuck you!
They'd be so mad.
It'd be great. So yeah, I think list building right now, everyone's just trying to build the strongest list they can, like independent, like in a vacuum basically. It's like, oh man, look how good my list is in this vacuum. It's like, that's great, but unfortunately there's actual problems you need to like be able to answer.
I could probably just play any Feora and claim that fires don't go out in her command range, and people would be okay with that.
That's probably true.
Isn't that true?
I like how we're just speculating cheating profusely here.
Like, just speculating, just abusing people's stupidity is all it is.
We have enough people around here not playing rules right, sir.
Like, don't play Smith White. It's like, he just makes shit up. Like,
Yeah.
He had a unit of Trollkin Warders in his mouth list. I don't know why. They were just fucking there.
Oh, did you see the Fiora 3 errata?
Mm-mm.
She got changed.
What'd they do?
You should look at it.
I don't have my phone on me.
What?
It's upstairs in the car. I was trying really hard to get here.
What? You didn't bring your phone?
It's in my car.
You're gonna die in a few minutes.
It's what's gonna happen. So What's the errata?
they errated her to be 30 millimeter base.
Ooh, I like this. This is already brought up.
No. I got to call someone a cheater in a game.
I don't know if that would make her better.
FR3 is not a 30 millimeter base. Cheater! And he's like,
I would just take a small base and glue it to the bottom of my model as it is and be like, it's legal.
Nice.
It's not misleading at all.
Yeah.
Part of my basing is a larger base.
But yeah, I would like to see people actually build their armies to accomplish a goal. Like, a lot of times people will ask me about lists. So, like, what do you think about this list? It's like, it looks like models put into a 75-point framework. And it's not because they're not trying to defeat anything specific. They're not trying to pair it with anything. There's like, look, I built this caster in this theme. What do you think? It's like, it looks like a list. Like,
I heard your voice in my head the other day when I put a Facebook post up.
What are you trying to accomplish with this list? What are you doing?
My question was, so, I want to run a bunch of repenters. Like, what's the best way to do that? And I heard what you say, like, you just put a bunch of repenters in a list. Like, I was like, fuck you, because that's not what the fuck I'm saying, and you fucking know it, okay?
Sounds like something I would say.
So, like, that's like, fuck you.
Alright, go to it. Go to the Warjack selection screen after you pick your
just
caster.
Click repenter a bunch of times.
Click
Just like,
plus button next to repenter
right there.
until you don't own that many repenters.
it's like, I fuck you. I hate
And then
you.
go buy another repenter.
I need more repenters. I own so many. Holy fuck.
We've been having not a similar conversation to that, but to go back to Brandon's point, we've been having a conversation in the Joplin chat about like list pairs specifically, because I do get asked a lot of questions like, you know, what do I think of this list or what do I think of that list? And I'm like, well, what are you pairing it with? And they never have an answer as to what you're pairing it with. And it's like, well, so here's what's going to happen. And I'm gonna save you the time here. You're going to take this list and you're going to play this list a lot. And you're probably going to get pretty solid with this list. And then you're going to take it to a tournament, and you're going to drop this list into the first matchup you can find, and then you're going to play, and you might win. And then you're going to go to round 2, and then you're going to realize that this list that you've been working on so hard cannot play very well into what this guy's pairing is. So you're going to have to drop your off list. And the problem is, you didn't build your off list to complement your primary. You didn't build your off list to solve a problem. You built your off list because it was full of models and stuff that you just don't mind playing. And so what's going to happen is you're going to lose that game because A, your off list is not built to answer the problems or the questions that your primary list can't. B, you don't have any practice with your off list. You're only playing your primary. And C, because your off list was built without that consideration in mind, your off list may not even cover the problems that you're going to face with your primary. That's why, like, the Joplin chat just goes crazy. They get tired of hearing you say it whenever they'll pose a list, and they're like, well, what do you think of this list? And I'm like, well, what are you pairing with it? And they're just like, well, I haven't decided on a pair for it yet. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think you're going to drop this into? And they're like, everything. And I'm like,
that's going to lose roughly 30% of its matchups then.
That's how.
Yeah, so I was like, and that was the conversation I had, is so like, well, like, so if you drop this into like everything, then what is your answer in Ghostfleet? How do you intend to win that game? Like, if you're going to look at playing this competitively, deal with the things you have to deal with. So how are you going to win this game competitively? Like, well, I think I can cause enough casualties because I have enough electro loops or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, sweet. So what happens if you run into an opponent playing Legion of Steel? Because that's also another very common theme list. And they're just like, well, all my electro loops. And I'm like, you realize all your electro loops have like a less than a 50-50 chance of killing an Iron Fang pikeman. It's a low chance that you're going to kill them. So all of a sudden now, what becomes your problem matchups? Like, the questions I always pose to them are, what are your problem matchups? What do you intend to drop into your problem matchups? Do you have any overlap? Do you have matchups where both lists can be playable into? Because it's important to have that. Because that way you're not just completely giving up list chicken to your opponent. Because you can have two perfectly good answers, but if every time your opponent looks at you, they know that they win list chicken all the time, it's just the same as playing into a bad matchup. Because that's kind of where trolls are at. Trolls have extremely potent options.
I think the key point there is, I'll say this as somebody who participates in this myself, if you want to play one list and you're not thinking about pairs and you just want to play this one list, you don't want to play competitively because that's not how the game is played. It's just, that's the truth of it. And yeah, well, you can say that you really, really, really just want to play Harbinger. You just want to play Harbinger against everything. You're going to build an all-comer Harbinger list, and I guess I'll have this set list on the
But
side.
that defeats the purpose of asking someone how your list is.
Okay.
If you just want to... And I understand what you're saying, and it's a valid
Well,
point.
Scott's answering them in a fashion of, hey, this is how the game is played, as opposed to looking at it in a vacuum saying, is this a casual player who's going to sit down every Sunday night at his store and play a couple games with his buddies? Because the person's asking a question, but their question is very broad. At work, people drive in, and I say, what are you here for? And they're like, service. I'm like, yeah, because that's what we do. We serve. You don't go to a restaurant and say, food. Like, they're asking you in a vacuum, assuming that all those other things you're bringing up matter. Yes, they need to think about them, but the person you're talking to, is it a person who is saying, I want to take this to the WGC. What do you think of this on its own by itself?
You have a lot to think about.
It's like, well, you need
have
more
you gotten
than those
Scott's
models.
opinion yet?
Take the Cossites out, like number one.
I'm thinking that 9 units of Cossites might be a little excessive here.
So it's like, I mean,
no, I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
Scott is talking about a really important thing. A lot of people, when they go looking for other people's advice on lists, it's because they want to either confirm that their own self-worth, basically, and say, "Oh, I made a good list." Like, "Yep, you made a good list, Tommy." You pat on the back, they go away.
All 75 of those points.
Or they
Look at
actually
that.
want advice to get better. Those are the two options. And you need to recognize that. Like, if someone comes to ask you, "Hey, what do you think of my paint job?" and you look at it, it's like, I can either say this looks like hair dog shit, or it looks like you need to learn how to highlight. Like,
That looks like a great table scheme.
yeah, so you have to identify what they're looking for. If they're looking for
Spence.
honest advice,
Oh, sorry.
then you need to be doing what Scott's doing. You need to tell them, it's like, well, this, in a vacuum, there's no such thing as a good list in a vacuum, really. Like you need to pair it with something. It needs to have its goals. It needs to accomplish those goals. Like, you don't have to build the best list in the world to accomplish your goals. And so people need to understand that. And it's basic list building a lot of people don't know. So that's kind of where this is going, I think.
Okay, I'm going to give the ultimate advice on how to make a great list. You
Put
take your
models in.
painted stuff, and you put that in your list first.
What
Then
do
you fill it with
all right,
your
what-
assembled stuff.
All right, Jeremy, we're going to assume you don't have assembled models yet. So we're going to start with building a list to assemble and paint. How about that?
I don't understand.
Kill yourself. All right.
Well, number one, go online, read what Facebook says the best theme is. Buy that faction.
I'm going to fucking gouge my own eyes out. Yeah, if
just
you
play
want
that.
list advice, I recommend that you go to Facebook, you unfollow all pages, delete your account, and throw your computer through a fire.
The best things I find on any of these Facebook groups to not to just completely throw them under the bus, because like everything else out there, there's going to be all kinds of negatives, but there's plenty of good stuff. Like I've found,
Whoa, you found good stuff on the Facebook
well,
pages?
the hobby stuff has been really interesting.
Oh, yeah?
I like when people share, like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, hey, this is my first. Somebody put this up the other day, and I thought it was funny. Like, I gave him a little bit of shit about it. I was like, just got Eye of Truth. It's my first Warjack. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, that's your first fucking Warjack?
Yeah, he read the Menoff forums.
Fuck you. Fuck you, motherfucker. It's like, the kid pulls up in his Ferrari. I just got my first car. I'm like, dude, my first
You
car.
say
is like,
that, I haven't seen someone play Eye of Truth against me yet.
it's not that. What I'm saying is, for your first Warjack, you get this fucking thing, this 20-point brand new character. My first Warjack was a shitty Crusader from the Metal Battle Box a million years ago.
I get it.
So
Don't
it's like-
point to this conversation.
I just think it's hilarious when I see things like that, and it's at least clever. And if you-
Usually what I see is someone online like, hey, how do I model this? And they're like, throw it in the garbage. It's a bad model. That's usually what I see.
that's the vast majority of the shit out there.
So,
But I don't throw everybody under the bus for those people. It's like
But Spence has a good point, though. Like, and we talked about this, and it didn't make the podcast last time, but we talked about this a little bit. There are some very legitimate resources out there, and there are some very good players who will go out of their way to give you very in-depth answers and their opinions and like their experiences. And there are some like legitimately very good resources. Just looking at the Trollblood Facebook group, like there's a couple players on there that have had some notable tournament success. They're obviously very strong with trolls. They have a good grasp of it. And if you ask a question, a legitimate question, they will stop and they will do their best to give you a legitimate, respectful answer. And it's 99% of the posts that I go through, I won't read the replies. I'll read the question. If I have something to add, I'll skim and see if someone else has added it yet. And if they have, I won't. But sometimes someone will ask a question, and then you'll see like this nugget of knowledge from someone who's had some success with it, and being like, well, okay, like, you know, this is what I found worked best for me, and this is why I found that it worked best for me. And they're legitimately very good and intelligent responses. So I don't want to completely discount or throw everybody on the Facebook groups under the bus, because there legitimately is some very, very good information out there. The problem is that there is so much negativity that you have to be willing to filter through it to find the nuggets of wisdom.
I wish there was an option on Facebook to not view things in a group posted by people that are not on your friends list.
I just think that's just... I'm very close. That was me when I played WoW. But, so actually, Chandler Torres, I've never met this guy, but he's pretty active on the Men Off Facebook group. He's been putting up his own stuff online. He did a caster review for a bunch of different casters. And there was immediate feedback of people like saying, like, oh, you're fucking wrong. And this one guy was legitimately arguing with him. And every response Chandler Torres was like, you know what? You probably got a point there. I'll have to do more research. Like, he's being nice and like not just being like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm just looking at this, I'm like, come the fuck on. It's like, you're arguing with a stranger on Facebook.
Hey, you know all that work you provided for free? You were wrong.
Fuck you, we're gonna argue about it. Like, that's exactly what, and like,
my favorite
Chandler
was that...
being so nice, like, response, like, and the guy's like, no, so he keeps trying to, I don't know if he was intentionally trying to do it, but like, it reminded me of a certain person I knew. I'm like, okay, well, you're not picking up on the cue here of we're done talking.
My favorite and worst argument I've ever been on Facebook was that one where the guy was talking about Scorn could not survive a Krios 1 gun line. I'm like, and this is before I Have Truth even came out, like this is back right after Mark III dropped.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, on average, and he said on average dice, 2 Reckoners, 2 Redeemers would completely destroy a Scorn battle group. Like, to dead. Just straight dead. He was averaging 4 sentries was the battle group. I was like, well, why don't you take a Kraya? It's like, well, Kraya is garbage. It doesn't add to armor. I'm like, well, but if you do the math for Rat 1 Redeemer, it's kind of relevant. And he's like, it's not. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, it does matter. Like, and I'm like, I show him the math. Like, I do the math. I'm at work. I do the math, and I post the math. He's like, nope, you're wrong. I'm like, I'm wrong? He's like, this is biased math. I'm like, because I added a mischance? Because you need 10s, you fucking retard? I got so mad at this guy.
That's what you get when you argue on Facebook.
Yeah,
There's just literally no point.
So it eventually gets down to the point where I'm like, well, first of all, I actually disagree with the argument because sentries are not the best thing versus Krios 1. He's like, well, they're steady. I was like, that's correct. There's other steady warbeasts in your faction that have Carapace. I would take those. And he's like, well, they don't have shield guards. Like, that's correct. They're just steady heavies with Carapace. I would go with that.
Zadesh doesn't care that they don't have shield guards.
Yeah.
And Zadesh, I realize, doesn't want to play into Krios 1, but...
For everyone listening, he took a second to look up at the sky, and he's like, why?
My God. When I see things like that, when people make large declarative statements, I was okay, this is obviously not something I really care to read. But there's funny shit out there and more critical. Like, I like that stuff more than anything else. I think that's the only way I don't have Warmachine forums to go to and just see strangers talk about shit anymore. Now it's Facebook, which, better or worse, out the fucking window, but when I go to the forums now, it's like, I did this battle report, and like I keep seeing the same things over and over again. It's like I can skim those in like 5 seconds, and all 3 people posting them. I appreciate it, but
the person who wins isn't as important as how much fun you're freaking having hanging out. And that took me a long time to learn that lesson, but it's so important. And like you have to show other players what it's like. Like you have to be the person to show other players what it's like to have fun and to enjoy the game and to be part of that.
I think most of the time when people think that I'm an asshole, it's because they came to me whining about something, and I told them basically to go to hell. And they're like, Brandon's mean. I'm like, yeah, you came to me, you're like, but this doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, it's not supposed to. Like,
I think this is a great thing. Brandon's like, actually, that's really shitty and stupid. I'm like, man, Brandon's a dick.
He's like, God, I wish Rhett would get a buff. Why? So you'd have even more rules that you don't know how to use? And you're like, and then they're like, Brandon's mean. I'm like, sorry. Like,
well, and it's just how you take things like that. Like, I just think everything has to be taken that way. Where Scott's like, hey, Spence, you're great. I'm like, I'm not Scott. I'm
Spence,
really
you
not.
missed my rants about Red early.
You're gonna have to tell me about this.
Oh man, I'll tell him about it after the podcast. So.
Are we gonna wrap up?
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
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 The thing that really annoys me is we used to have such a great community, and I don't know if it... The thing that really annoys me is we used to have such a great community, and I don't know if it was that all the forums that I never went to, that I was not exposed to at all, is just now on social media. I assume that's most of it.
Yeah.
But I think just people are more toxic about the game in general. Like, I don't understand how, like, it seems... Because... I don't know if they're driving away the more level-headed or calm people.
Those people aren't actively talking.
Right. Well, but I talk much less on Facebook now than I did a year ago. Because I'm tired of
You've realized that
people
there's no point
just
in it.
being toxic and driving me away. Like, I just don't want to fucking deal with their shit.
Mhm.
He's like, well, you're wrong. I'm like, well, how about you just fucking do math or understand basic concepts of averages?
I've done this thing with the political spectrum as it is right now, and people's arguments on Facebook, which, like I said, I don't argue on Facebook at all. If I'm talking to you and then random third person comes in and posts something to get in the middle of our conversation, I disacknowledge it. And then if they tag me or say anything to me, I'll reply to them very simply. I'm not going to argue with them. They're like, it's not my job to educate you. It's not my job to teach you. Society should have done that. Or you should. I don't care. There's no conversation going on. Literally no discussion. Go away. And then I go back to talking to you. And if they want to keep doing it, like, that's fine. I can block them because I can do that, or I can ignore them because you don't care. I don't care. Jeremy doesn't care. Scott
I
doesn't
care. I care a lot.
If you block someone that's in a group, can you just not see what they post?
I think so.
I'm just going to start blocking
Yes.
everyone on Facebook.
That'd be hilarious. Until eventually have a massive block list.
Yeah, like I'll just do like, oh, this guy's an idiot. I'll just block him. And then, all of a sudden I'll start getting all the good comments again.
Now, it's like
It'll be like...
That's like the game
every once in a
requests.
while you will see a reply from them, but yeah.
All those people who were like, "Oh, you should play this fucking shitty Facebook game," and they send you the shitty fucking request. I blocked every game I saw for a very long time. Now I don't see game requests anymore. I don't know if something changed or what, but I don't see them at all.
I unfollow people on Facebook sometimes when they make statements that I refuse to accept them as people anymore. Like, so I'll just unfollow them, and Facebook's like, just so you know, when we unfollow them, we won't tell you that you unfollowed them. Like, no, please tell them I unfollowed them. Like, please feel free.
Just defriend them.
Yeah,
Like you don't owe people. There's a weird social dynamic about it. It's like, I don't want to hurt their feelings or start a discussion about it.
No,
you know
no,
people
like,
at the geekery that I've just defriended? It's like they add me and I'm like, oh, I know that person because I saw him up there. And my rule on Facebook is if I don't know you in real life, we're not friends on Facebook. Just simple enough. If you and I have never actually met each other in person, I'm not going to add you just because fuck that. I don't need that shit in my life. I don't need a fucking pen pal, okay? But unless you're a celebrity, let me clarify. If you're a celebrity and somehow you and I become friends on Facebook... I'm sorry.
What's the line on that? What's a celebrity?
I don't know. Are you in movies? Are you in porn?
Oh.
Are you how the fuck am I supposed to define celebrity for you?
No, I know the big concept of celebrity. I'm just asking, like, where's the line? Like, how, like, famous do they need to be?
I'd say at least nationally famous.
Nationally famous? Like, household name?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Like somebody, like
All right.
U.S. Weekly, like Us
But,
Weekly.
like, I was in a movie in 1984 that you don't know the name of, so, like, you can be friends with me online.
It depends on if I like that movie. But, like, I mean, if Time Act decided to go ahead and shoot me a request on Facebook, I'd accept that shit because The Last Dragon was amazing. But, and I've met him in person, so it would work either way. But, okay.
Why are
Anyway.
we talking about this?
Like, we've got but back to theme forces. No, it's like I for the geekery, like I don't remember the guy's fucking name, but everything he put up there was just serious conservative Trumpisms and whatnot. It's like, and I'm like, I'm not going to argue politics because
You unfriended Max on Facebook?
not Max. I would
What's wrong with conservatives?
everything, but I just defriended him, and there was no discussion about it. And like when I saw him next time, it was like, hey, he literally said, "It's like
Muted.
fuck you, Jeremy." When I saw him next time, he literally was like,
Conservative!
did you defriend me? It's like, yeah, and I told him, I was like, you just post a lot of political stuff, and it was either unfollow or defriend, and I just
It
don't.
was probably
really-
Richard. Richard's pretty right-wing.
Richard and I are still not friends on Facebook.
Because he's...
I don't
right.
send ads. He has not sent one to me, so.
So they
I
have
was
to
just
try
going
and
to say,
friend
is this the only podcast? Okay, edit this out.
Why?
Is this the only podcast that's ever been recorded where the number of people on the right outnumber the number of people on the left?
Not
I
on
think
our
that-
fucking show.
I think that the people on the right just think that about every form of media or anything out there.
I don't like Republicans because they're way too liberal for me.
I have a friend whose dad was trying to argue that NPR was exceptionally liberal.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think
I
that
was just
too?
Making,
Holy
I was
fuck, I'm so confused.
I was just making reference to like news on minis
That
and crippled
all the other people involved in social media are usually.
Oh
very
no, we're hella conservative compared to them.
Don't put me in that.
Yeah, that's the point. I wasn't actually like attacking your political
To
views. or
be
anything.
fair-
I feel like Scott's
To
attacking my
be
political
fair,
views.
of all liberals, Iowa liberals usually have a decent head on their shoulders.
Iowa liberals.
Because they generally care about okay things.
So what I like is when Spence put BLM in the chat, I'm like, Bureau of Land Management?
I knew because of you guys, I was waiting for someone to fucking respond and nobody said anything.
I'm like-
I tried to figure it out and I was like, fuck it.
It's like,
Bureau of, is that actually what that stands for?
no, it's
Bureau-
Black Lives Matter.
Oh, I had no fucking idea that's what that meant.
I was just
I did not reply because I was scared to death what was going to happen in the insurance.
it's like,
So I was like, no way.
I just threw a grenade out there. I was like, anybody gonna touch it? Anybody?
I'm just
Anybody?
like,
Jeremy, I love
when did
that.
Spence start caring about government land?
I just like arguing. You know that. Just not with strangers. I want to argue with people I know who I like. Because even if I don't, even if you and I don't agree on something, if your opinion of something and mine, if they're different, that's fine. I can learn from you because I at least like you as a person. So I feel like you're not an evil, ignorant son of a bitch. So as long as you're not evil and ignorant, that's fine. Then you say something, I'm like, okay, well tell me why you think that. And by talking enough with a person who you know is not evil and ignorant, you eventually come to an impasse where you're both like, okay, I kind of get where you're coming. Shut the fuck up.
I didn't say
Brandon
anything yet.
slowly raising his hand like he has something to say.
Who do you know is both evil and ignorant?
I don't know them because the second I find out, I'm like, okay, defriend. And I do that in real life, too.
No, that's what I'm saying. Have you ever met someone in real life? You're like, this person is both evil and ignorant.
Yes.
Who? Give
I'm
me a
not
name.
saying names on the podcast.
He'll pause it. He's paused it. All right, who?
Are you
Jeremy, did you or did you not pause it? It's paused. Spence, give me the name.
I'll give you names later. No,
text,
I'm not gonna.
text me the name. Here, I'm going to open my text right
My
in
phone
the
is
There we go.
not
I'll
here.
hit the
No.
pause button.
No,
There
I
we
think
go.
there are.
Pause.
Like, you're not. Am I actually
All right,
paused?
there.
Jeremy,
Now
I
type the name in that box.
have to think of one.
God damn it.
I'll get you one. I don't have one off the top of my head.
All right.
But no, people like that, it's like, I generally find that if you give people a chance to talk to them, and they.
So
oh,
maybe-
wait, Josh.
He's not evil and ignorant.
He is both evil and ignorant.
He's not evil.
Okay, really? Yeah, orcs are evil. Yeah, they're evil.
I mean, he's an asshole.
That's kind of evil.
That's not evil. I'm
Really?
an asshole.
Does he fuck up people's property? Like, does he deface people's things?
I think the thing has to have
Does
a
he try and
certain
take
amount
people's happy times and make them sad times?
of- I don't think that's
That-
definition evil.
Really? So he didn't slap Parker's hand and be like, I'm not
I
turning
am
your...
I am so fucking confused right now.
Josh Russell's an asshole, but is he evil?
New topic! Here we
He
go!
has a fan club.
Yeah, but that's
Strangers
Dan.
don't like him, okay? You know who else has that same thing going on for him? Hitler. Okay.
Strangers don't like him. It's a strong argument. I don't know. Maybe he is evil.
All right, so summing up, learn to Wargame. That was a podcast.
Wait, no, we're not done yet.
Jeremy, I'm so sorry you're going to have to edit all of this, buddy.
We're
I do
all
anyway.
fan-managed.
He just puts it all in the pre-ramble.
Okay, on the political topic, I just want it to be known. I honestly believe everyone should be allowed to live their lives to every extent of happiness they want. Everyone should be left the fuck alone, as long as they leave me the fuck alone.
Oh, God.
I think that sounds very nice.
See? Am I still evil?
I don't think you're evil.
Oh, nice! Gray area.
You're not my... You're not... No, you're generally good... Okay, this is a conversation I legitimately had with Warmachine players in our meta. Kind of, if you can call it a meta.
People hate me, don't they?
Well, you come off as an asshole. You do. And the thing is, like, it's not been a sort of thing
He
where...
is an asshole.
He's not actually. Brandon's actually.
look at that face.
Despite
that
wanting
is
to be
a
a prick
face of an
sometimes,
asshole.
he does this
I go
thing
out
where
of my way to be an asshole.
no, but you'll make fun of people, you'll give them a hard time, you'll call them stupid, and but you're not doing it in an aggressive, hateful way. And some people are more sensitive, so they take it negatively. So you know those kid gloves you put on with new players, and you know me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why the fuck are you dumb when I'm trying to teach a new player? But you're like, okay, so and you're being patient and nice. Like after people get to know you, you stop that fake patient nice bullshit. You don't
I have a
do
tolerance level that
No, because the thing is, even if they're an asshole, even if they're fucking horrible, you let it be over there unless they keep rubbing it in your face. You just let it be over there. So you're not an asshole. You're fairly gruff. You're kind of tempestuous. You're your own type of rough person, and it's not like there's no negativity. You go the other direction. You help out people a lot. There's a lot of good there, not that most of us can see or are aware of, but it's there. But there are people who it rubs the wrong way, but you can't make everybody happy all the time, so you don't do that. Like Scott. Scott tries to make everybody happy all the time. And I think do you have an ulcer, Scott?
I have in the past, yes.
I guarantee it's because he is way too fucking nice to everybody all the time. Scott, you're like the nicest person I've ever met. Jeremy, you hate children.
I do.
Just
Have
unattractive
you ever
ones.
met a child you liked?
Me?
Yeah. But liked.
Like or
Like, hangs around after.
I mean,
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going, and I'm very concerned about it.
it's all right. This is going to be posted online, and I just said something horrible.
Scott, you have to understand one very important thing about the rating system. If the FBI has to listen, that's a rating.
Well, and it's just
Get
another
those
listener.
numbers up!
It's just another listener.
Yeah, see? It's a +1 ticker
Like,
on the thing.
ding, victory.
And then when it goes to trial, it's at least 12 more there.
Yeah, well, the judge is 13.
In fact,
prosecutor,
if we make
defense
this a premium podcast, they'll have to pay to listen to it.
I like where this is going.
Actually, no.
Oh, God.
Follow us on Patreon.
Do we still have a Patreon subscriber?
No.
Oh, Terrence.
Call him. Tell him I miss him.
We have had requests for more spins.
What the hell is that? Sam? I don't remember the guy's name. He's fucking like the nicest guy in the world, except for Scott. Dude, I can tell you, I met Scott one time. I'm like, Scott, I stepped on Scott's foot or something like that, and Scott's like, I'm so sorry, Spence. I'm like,
What happened?
what? It's just I remember the first time I met Scott. It was at one of our fucking tournaments. He came down. He was playing Butcher 3, and I had High Reclaimer. And he was just so patient and nice the whole time we were trying to figure out everything. The game was pretty much just me and Scott getting to know each other, and I have no fucking clue what actually happened in the game.
Is that when you guys both killboxed yourselves? And
Probably.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, that was our second game. We
That
were
was
trying to
the second
rematch from the first one, because with the first one we're like, I don't really think that game counted because I don't really know who would have. So we did the next game. We both fucked up 800 times again. And Scott and I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. Scott and I just can't play each other. There's some sort of weird mystical force. It's because I'm a liberal and I'm exceptionally shitty as a human being. Scott's a conservative and he's an exceptionally wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So, liberal and...
Yeah, liberal conservative.
Shut up. That's literally the opposite of
Oh, God.
We got Spence to say it on the
hurts
recorded
so
line.
much.
I hate you all. Where's Max? I need Max.
Well, is that going to
Yeah,
help
you
the
need
ratio?
No, Max doesn't care about things enough.
And I liked it when it was just me, Jeremy, and Max. That way it was just
To be
nice,
fair,
collective.
Max was only pointing a gun at Brandon for a while.
It's we're sitting
half an
5
hour?
foot away from the table where all the
there's
stuff for
only-
Max
there's
to make
only,
all of his
3 guns
ammunition
in
for his
the room
guns. It's yeah, Max is definitely not a liberal.
Was that the forums that I never went to, that I was not exposed to at all, is just now on social media. I assume that's most of it.
Yeah.
But I think just people are more toxic about the game in general. I don't understand how, it seems... Because I don't know if they're driving away the more level-headed or calm people.
Those people aren't actively talking.
Right. Well, but I talk much less on Facebook now than I did a year ago. Because I'm tired of
You've realized that
people
there's no point
just
in
being toxic and driving me away. I just don't want to fucking deal with their shit.
it. Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, you're wrong. I'm like, well, how about you just fucking do math or understand basic concepts of averages?
I've done this thing with the political spectrum as it is right now, and people's arguments on Facebook, which, like I said, I don't argue on Facebook at all. if I'm talking to you and then random third person comes in and posts something to get in the middle of our conversation, I just acknowledge it. And then if they tag me or say anything to me, I'll reply to them very simply. I'm not going to argue with them. They're like, it's not my job to educate you. It's not my job to teach you. Society should have done that. You should. I don't care. There's no conversation going on. Literally no discussion. Go away. And then I go back to talking to you. And if they want to keep doing it, like, that's fine. I can block them because I can do that, or I can ignore them because you don't care. I don't care. Jeremy doesn't care. Scott
I
doesn't
care. I care a lot.
If you block someone that's in a group, can you just not see what they post?
I think so.
I'm just going to start blocking everyone on Facebook.
That'd be hilarious. Until eventually have a massive block list.
Yeah, like I'll just do like, oh, this guy's an idiot. I'll just block him. And then, all of a sudden I'll start getting all the good comments again.
Now, it's like
It'll be like...
That's like the game
every
requests.
once in a while you will see a reply from them, but yeah.
All those people who were like, "Oh, you should play this fucking shitty Facebook game," and they send you the shitty fucking request. I blocked every game I saw for a very long time. Now I don't see game requests anymore. I don't know if something changed or what, but I don't see them at all.
I unfollow people on Facebook sometimes when they make statements that I refuse to accept them as people anymore. So I'll just unfollow them, and Facebook's like, just so you know, when we unfollow them, we won't tell you that you unfollowed them. Like, no, please tell them I unfollowed them. Please feel free.
Just defriend them.
Yeah,
you don't owe people. There's a weird social dynamic about it. It's like, I don't want to hurt their feelings or start a discussion about it. People at the Geekery that I've just defriended. It's like they add me and I'm like, oh, I know that person because I saw them up there. And my rule on Facebook is if I don't know you in real life, we're not friends on Facebook. Just simple enough. If you and I have never actually met each other in person, I'm not going to add you just because fuck that. I don't need that shit in my life. I don't need a fucking pen pal, okay? But unless you're a celebrity, let me clarify. If you're a celebrity and somehow you and I become friends on Facebook... I'm sorry.
What's the line on that? What's a celebrity?
I don't know. Are you in movies? Are you in porn? Are you how the fuck am I supposed to define celebrity for you?
No, I know the vague concept of celebrity. I'm just asking, where's the line? How, famous do they need to be?
I'd say at least nationally famous.
Nationally famous? Like, household name?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Like somebody...
all right.
U.S. Weekly. Like, Us
but,
Weekly.
I was in a movie in 1984 that you don't know the name of, so, you can be friends with me online.
It depends on if I like that movie. But, if Time Act decided to go ahead and shoot me a request on Facebook, I'd accept that shit because The Last Dragon was amazing. But, and I met him in person, so it would work either way. But, okay. Anyway,
why are we talking about this?
We've got but back to theme forces. No, it's like up to the Geekery. I don't remember the guy's fucking name, but everything he put up there was just serious conservative Trumpisms and whatnot. It's like, and I'm like, I'm not going to argue politics because
you unfriended Max on Facebook.
Not Max. I would.
What's wrong with conservatives?
Everything, but. I just defriended him, and there was no discussion about it. And when I saw him next time, it was like, hey, he literally said, it's like
muted.
Fuck you, Jeremy. When I saw him next time, he literally was
conservative.
Did you defriend me? It's like, yeah. And I told him, I was like, you just post a lot of political stuff, and it was either unfollow or defriend, and I just don't.
It's probably Richard. Richard's pretty right wing.
Richard and I are still not friends on Facebook
because he's.
I don't send ads. He has not sent one to me, so.
So they have to try and friend you.
Is this the only podcast? Okay, edit this out.
Why?
Is this the only podcast that's ever been recorded where the number of people on the right outnumber the number of people on the left?
I think our fucking show.
I think that the people on the right just think that about every form of media or anything out there.
I don't like Republicans because they're way too liberal for me.
I have a friend whose dad was trying to argue that NPR was exceptionally liberal.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think that too? Holy fuck! I'm so confused.
I was just making reference to news on minis
that
and crippled
all the other people involved in social media are usually.
Oh no, we're hella conservative compared to them.
Don't put me in that.
Yeah, that's the point. I wasn't actually attacking your political views.
I feel like Scott's attacking my political views.
To be fair, of all liberals, Iowa liberals usually have a decent head on their shoulders.
Iowa liberals,
because they generally care about okay things.
So what I like is when Spence put BLM in the chat, I'm like, Bureau of Land Management?
I knew because of you guys, I was waiting for someone to fucking respond and nobody said anything.
I tried to figure it out and I was like, fuck it. It's like Bureau of, is that actually what that stands for?
No, it's Black Lives Matter.
Oh, I had no fucking idea that's not that bad.
I was just
I did not reply because I was scared to death what was going to happen in the insurance.
I
was like, no way.
I just threw a grenade out there. I was like, anybody gonna touch it? Anybody?
I'm just
Anybody?
like,
Jeremy, I
when
love
did
that.
Spence start caring about government land?
I just like arguing. You know that. Just not with strangers. I want to argue with people I know who I like. Because even if I don't, even if you and I don't agree on something, if your opinion of something and mine, if they're different, that's fine. I can learn from you because I at least like you as a person. So I feel like you're not an evil, ignorant son of a bitch. So as long as you're not evil and ignorant, that's fine. Then you say something, I'm like, okay, well tell me why you think that. And by talking enough with a person who you know is not evil and ignorant, you eventually come to an impasse where you're both like, okay, I kind of get where you're coming. Shut the fuck up.
I didn't say
Brandon
anything.
slowly raising his hand like he has something to say.
Who do you know is both evil and ignorant?
I don't know them because the second I find out, I'm like, okay, defriend. And I do that in real life too.
No, that's what I'm saying. Have you ever met someone in real life you're like, this person is both evil and ignorant?
Yes.
Who? Give
I'm
me a
not
name.
saying names on the podcast.
He'll pause it. He's paused it. All right, who is
Are you
Jeremy, did you or did you not pause it? It's paused. Spence, give me the name.
I'll give you names later. No, I'm not gonna.
Text me the name. Here, I'm going to open my text right
My
into
phone
the
is
There we go.
not
I'll
here.
hit the
No.
pause button.
No,
There
I
we
think
go.
there
Pause.
are. Like, you're not. Am I actually
All right,
paused?
there.
Jeremy,
Now
hey,
type the name in that box.
I have to think of one.
God damn it.
I'll get you one. I don't have one off the top of my head.
All right.
But no, people like that, it's like, I generally find that if you give people a chance to talk to them, and they,
So
oh,
maybe-
wait, Josh,
He's not evil and ignorant.
he is both evil and ignorant.
He's not evil.
Okay? Really? Yeah, orcs are evil. Yeah, they're evil.
I mean, he's an asshole.
That's kind of evil.
That's not evil. I'm
Really?
an asshole.
Does he fuck up people's property? Like, does he deface people's things?
I think the thing has to have
Does
a
he try
certain
and take
amount of-
people's happy times and make them sad times?
I don't think that's
That-
definition
that-
evil.
Really? So he didn't slap Parker's hand and be like, I'm not
I
turning
am
your...
so fucking confused right now.
Josh Russell's an asshole, but is he evil?
New topic! Here we
He
go!
has a fan club.
Yeah, but that's
Strangers
Dan.
don't like him, okay? You know who else has that same thing going on for him? Hitler. Okay.
Strangers don't like him. It's a strong argument. I don't know. Maybe he is evil.
All right, so summing up, learn to Wargame. That was a podcast.
Wait, no, we're not done yet.
Jeremy, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to edit all of this, buddy.
I do anyway.
He just puts it all in the pre-ramble.
Okay, on the political topic, I just want it to be known. I honestly believe everyone should be allowed to live their lives to every extent of happiness they want. Everyone should be left the fuck alone, as long as they leave me the fuck alone.
Oh, God.
I think that sounds very nice.
See? Am I still evil?
I don't think you're evil.
Oh, nice! Gray area.
You're not my... You're not... No, you're generally good... Okay, this is a conversation I legitimately had with Warmachine players in our meta. Kind of, if you can call it a meta.
People hate me, don't they?
Well, you come off as an asshole. You do. And it's the thing is, like, it's not been a sort of thing
He
where...
is an asshole.
He's not, actually. Brandon's
I mean,
actually...
look at that face.
Despite
That
wanting
is
to be
a
a
face
prick
of an
sometimes,
asshole.
he does this
I go
thing
out
where...
of my way to be an asshole.
No, but you'll make fun of people. You'll give them a hard time. You'll call them stupid, but you're not doing it in an aggressive, hateful way. And some people are more sensitive, so they take it negatively. So those kid gloves you put on with new players, and me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why the fuck are you dumb when I'm trying to teach a new player? But you're like, okay, so and you're being patient and nice. Like after people get to know you, you stop that fake patient nice bullshit. You don't
I have a
do
tolerance level that...
No, because the thing is, even if they're an asshole, even if they're fucking horrible, you let it be over there unless they keep rubbing it in your face. You just let it be over there. So you're not an asshole. You're fairly gruff. You're kind of tempestuous. You're your own type of rough person. And it's not like there's no negativity. You go the other direction and you help out people a lot. There's a lot of good there. Not that most of us can see or are aware of, but it's there. But there are people who it rubs the wrong way, but you can't make everybody happy all the time, so you don't do that. Like Scott. Scott tries to make everybody happy all the time. And I think do you have an ulcer, Scott?
I have in the past, yes.
I guarantee it's because he is way too fucking nice to everybody all the time. Scott, you're like the nicest person I've ever met. Jeremy, you hate children.
I do.
Just
Have
unattractive
you ever
ones.
met a child you liked?
Me?
Yeah. But liked.
Like or
Hangs around after.
I mean
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going, and I'm very concerned about it.
It's all right. This is going to be posted online, and I just said something horrible.
Well, Scott, you have to understand one very important thing about the rating system. If the FBI has to listen, that's a rating.
Well, and it's just
Get
another
those
listener.
numbers up.
It's just another listener.
Yeah, see, it's a +1 ticker
Like,
on the
ding,
thing.
victory.
And then when it goes to trial, there's at least 12 more there.
Yeah, well, the judge is 13.
In fact,
prosecutor,
if we make
defense
this a premium podcast, they'll have to pay to listen to it.
I like where this is going.
Actually, no.
Oh, God.
Follow us on Patreon.
Do we still have a Patreon subscriber?
No.
Oh, Terrence.
Call him. Tell him I miss him.
We have had requests for more spins.
What the hell is that? Sam? I don't remember the guy's name. He's fucking like the nicest guy in the world, except for Scott. Dude, I can tell you, like, I met Scott like one time. I'm like, Scott, like, I stepped on Scott's foot or something like that, and Scott's like, I'm so sorry, Spence. I'm like,
What happened?
what? Like, it's just I remember the first time I met Scott. It was at one of our fucking tournaments. He came down. He was playing Butcher 3, and I had High Reclaimer. And he was just like so patient and nice the whole time we were trying to figure out everything. Like, the game was pretty much just me and Scott getting to know each other, and I have no fucking clue what actually happened in the game.
Is that when you guys both killboxed yourselves? And
Probably.
Like, yeah.
Scott and I were like, no, that was our second game. We were trying to
second
rematch from the first one, because with the first one we were like, I don't really think that game counted, because I don't really know who would have. So we did the next game. We both fucked up like 800 times again. And Scott and I like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. Scott and I just can't play each other. There's some sort of weird mystical force. It's because I'm a liberal and I'm exceptionally shitty as a human being. Scott's a conservative and he's an exceptionally wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So, liberal and...
Yeah, liberal conservative.
Shut up. That's literally the opposite of
Oh, God.
We got Spence to say it on the
hurts
recorded
so
line.
much.
I hate you all. Where's Max? I need Max.
Well, is that going to
Yeah,
help
you
the
need
ratio?
No, Max doesn't care about things enough.
And I liked it when it was just me, Jeremy, and Max. That way it was just like,
To be
nice
fair,
collective.
Max was only pointing a gun at Brandon for a while.
It's like we're sitting
Half an
5
hour?
foot away from like the table where
Yeah,
all the
there's
stuff for
only-
Max
there's
to
only,
make
like,
all of his
3 guns
ammunition
in
for his
the room.
guns. It's like, yeah, Max is definitely not a liberal.